Yes, yes, yes. What's up, people? Big up everyone locked in. All the guys in the chat. We're here for the Johnny Fisher, Dave Allen rematch. They just announced in the ring, though, Harlem Eubank, of all people, versus Jack Catterall. Surely that's a relatively easy win for Jack Catterall, or am I missing something? It's kind of a strange fight to make. But just to do a roll call here, we got Austin Spears, big up. Sean Barker, El Rablo, East Midlands Fight Fan, Ash Rayman, Dogwater, JR, First Round Boxing. He says, Hatman Tony Yoka has a good fight tonight against a Russian guy. Has the fight happened yet? Austin Spears has got Fisher by KO. Okay. We got Chainsaw in the place. Somehow, some way, still Canelo on points. Indeed. Lenny Ngannou, big up. Shout out to Adrian. He says, I can't wait for the mandatory. I really didn't train for this fight in the post-fight interview. That's right, from Dave Allen. Shout out to Matthew Wilson. Big up, big up. Enki, what's up? AJ, Ambient Lifestyle. Ian Campbell. All right, representing Guyana. South America in the house. MT, big up. Jonas, Rick, Charles B. The man, the legend. We got D, big up. Austin Spears says, Alan better shock us because he looks absolutely out of shape. He does indeed. He looks in terrible condition. But perhaps looks are deceiving. Big up Michael B. Boxing on the Edge in the house. Big up Boxing on the Edge, my bro. Alan by KO. Keep my terrible UK picks alive. Big up Boxing on the Edge. Much appreciated for the super chat, my guy. In fact, I saw your latest upload with the music. Another nice beat. Brad H says, Evening Hatman, who do you want to win? Truth be told, I really don't mind. I really don't mind who wins. I've picked Johnny Fisher to win, but I really don't mind who wins. I'm completely 100% genuinely neutral in this fight. I just want to see a good fight. I just want to see some drama and a good scrap. And the first one was a good scrap, so I'm hoping for something similar here. Encircled says, you're picking Fisher, right? Yes, I am picking Fisher. Fee Khabib says, Fisher versus Allen, headlining a show. British fans will really buy anything. Well, at least it's not pay-per-view. That's all I can tell you. But this is the reason that boxing is so big in the UK and so lucrative in the UK, should I say, because British boxing fans will get out and support their own. I think most of us who are not from Essex realize that Johnny Fisher isn't much good, but the local community where he's from, in that particular, well, the whole of Essex really, but especially his corner of Essex, the Rumford area, Harold Wood, all around there, they come out in droves to support him. Because that's what it's like in the UK. People really support their local guys, their local talent. And that's a good thing, right? That way, guys like this, who are not even close to world level, and in the case of Johnny Fisher, well, both of them, but Johnny Fisher, because he's the younger guy, he probably never will be close to world level. But yet he can still make a decent living already. Adrian says ring walk starting. That's right. We've got Dave Allen walking to the ring right now. Encircled says US boxing is actually pretty dead. It is, and this is why. Because in the US, they don't support their grassroots. In the US, it's like, unless you're already a world champion, maybe even a multi-weight world champion, they don't even pay you any attention. That's why so many US fighters very rarely fight in their hometown. They have to travel around fighting here, there, and everywhere, all over the US. Fighting in their hometown is a rarity. Fee Khabib says, this fight isn't even British level. Buying a ticket to a show headlined by this is nuts. Like I say, man, people support their own. It is what it is. I think it's a good thing. As long as they're not trying to put it on pay-per-view and all that mess, it's all good. America will be better, or American boxing will be better, if they supported their own like this. Got Chili Beef in the chat. Big up. Liam in Chain says, the arena is full of NPC bots. The Bosch thing is so cringe. It is cringe, but there's also something fun about it. That's why we're watching, right? There's something fun about this fight, and there is fun to be had at all levels in boxing. AJ says, can't lie, his old fella got me phoning my local Chinese a few times. All right, Johnny Fisher headed to the ring. Just reading some of these comments here. Declan says, everything about Fisher is gimmicky. Country Roads as his entrance music. A guy from Romford. You know, there's something special about two UK heavyweights fighting each other. There always has been. There's a magic about it. At any level, you generally get a good fight. You know, I remember back in the dark ages of the Klitschko era, the best fights in the heavyweight division back then, during the Klitschko era, were domestic UK heavyweight fights. Yeah, it weren't world level fights involving the Klitschkos. No, the best fights were actually domestic UK fights. And one of the best, certainly British heavyweight scraps that I've seen in, 30 years was Danny Williams versus Keith Long. That was a purely domestic scrap for the British title. And it was vicious. From the opening bell, those guys are trading big combinations. You'd think they had some type of serious beef. Paladin Poker says, Dave Allen is literally never in shape. Once upon a time, he fought at 235, believe it or not. Tef Vision says America won't even get behind Crawford, and he's a multi-weight world champion. Indeed. And to be fair, this particular fight is not the norm, is it? Like, most UK heavyweights don't get this level of support. They get support, you know, if you got like a local unbeaten guy, they'll get support, but not this level of support. They'll get like York Hall support. You know, York Hall, what's the capacity? Like 800 or something, 1,000? They'll get that type of support. But this is an exception to the norm, isn't it? It's definitely an exception to the norm. Johnny Fisher sells an awful lot of tickets, you know, with the Bosch Army and the Essex crew. Shout out to Chili Beef. Says, thanks for the live, boss. It's treason then. That's right. Canelo on points. Who elected him? Indeed. Shout out to Chili Beef each and every time. Much appreciated for the super chat. Fee Khabib says, is Fisher's fat dad famous outside of boxing? Why does his son have such a cult following? No, he's not famous outside of boxing. Well, at least not before his son became quote-unquote famous outside of boxing. The reason he has such a cult following is because Eddie Hearn is from Essex. It's as simple as this. Eddie Hearn is from Essex, and he found Johnny Fisher, who's also from Essex, and he started giving him loads of promotion above and beyond what he would give a fighter from a different part of the country. It's as simple as that. It's like a little Essex, I don't know how to describe it, pact, Essex loyalty, Essex favoritism. And you don't often get particularly great fighters coming out of Essex these days. So now that they've got one, I mean, not that Johnny Fisher's a great fighter, but you know, he's a fighter who the Essex crowd think is going somewhere. Yeah, it's an Essex loving. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, it's an Essex loving. That's exactly what it is. That's the best way to describe it. Yes. Charles B says a lot of his fans were from his uni, I think. Could well be. Yeah, an Essex circle jerk. An Essex loving is that exactly what it is. All right. Anyway, let's get down to this commentary. The ref has read the final instructions. The opening bell is about to go. Seconds out. Ding. Here we go, round one. Dave Allen, Johnny Fisher, 2. Johnny Fisher coming out in his typical very awkward style, where he kind of like leans back and at the same time pushes his left hand out. It's almost a bit David Price-like, that stance. Sticking out the jab. All right, both guys just jostling for position in the middle of the ring. Dave Allen hasn't thrown much yet. A couple of feints. Johnny Fisher, a big swinging right hand from Dave Allen there, licks his lips as the punch sails by Johnny Fisher. Not even close to being on target. Fisher with the jab. Fisher looks a bit skittish here. He needs to control the pace and not throw too much because he threw too much. Oh, big right hand by Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher holds on. Is Johnny Fisher hurt already? That right hand seemed to land. I'd like to see a replay of that. Might have drama already. All right. Johnny Fisher back on the jab after that big right hand. That was quite well timed by Dave Allen. Much better timed than the first attempt with that right hand. Johnny Fisher needs to tie up a lot more. He needs to stick that jab out with more authority. It's a body shot there from Johnny Fisher. I think Dave Allen was complaining about a clash of heads. There might have been one there. Hopefully there's no cut. So far in the first round, even though Johnny Fisher is the more active, Dave Allen looks far more confident. There's a jab from Johnny Fisher. Again, sticking that left hand out there as he leans away. Another big swinging right hand from Dave Allen. Johnny, if you get caught with that one, you might be on ice skates. And Johnny Fisher, of course, is circling into that big swinging right-hander Dave Allen. Most orthodox fighters do naturally move to their left, but it's really a good thing to learn how to circle to your right a lot more. Joe Joyce is actually very good at that. Circle into his own right rather than circle into his left, because it will take away, not that Joyce does it quickly enough, but the idea is it takes away the orthodox fighter's right hand. There's a right hand from Johnny Fisher, which was easily blocked by Dave Allen. Up against the ropes, a place where he doesn't want to be because, all right, there's the end of round one. Because as he's stationary, it's easier for Dave Allen to time the right hand. East Midlands Fight Fan says Fisher is still shell-shocked. Yeah, he did appear very skittish in that opening round. Very, very skittish. Now, somebody says Eddie Hearn got bored of promoting all the Northerners over the years. I don't necessarily think he got bored of it, but he just thought that he'd struck the jackpot when he came across an Essex fighter who he knew he could market, because he understands the Essex crowd better than he understands Northerners because he's from Essex. Anyway, here we go, round two, 5 seconds in. Johnny Fisher again on the outside, upright, fencing with the left hand, looking very uncomfortable. It has to be said. Dave Allen a lot more purposeful at the start of his rematch than he was at the start of their first fight. And the way it's shaping up at the moment, unless Johnny Fisher, he's been warned there from the ref for extending out the left hand too much, pawing with it in Dave Allen's face. Unless he gets some respect and puts more authority on his jab, the way it's looking, it's like Dave Allen's going to catch him sooner rather than later. Because the offense from Johnny Fisher here is just too weak. Dave Allen's getting into range and he's able to get that right hand off. So, yeah, Johnny Fisher doesn't need to throw too many punches, but when he does throw, they need to be authoritative. That was a good jab there from Dave Allen. Yeah, it's definitely not pretty from Johnny Fisher here. Very novice-y looking as usual. There's a right hand from Fisher. I think that just got through the guard of Dave Allen down the middle. Oh, right hand there from Dave Allen again. Yeah, Fisher still looks very panicky. Very skittish. Will he relax as the rounds go on? A minute left in the second round. TC says, Bosh. But will it be Fisher getting boshed? Okay, wild uppercut there from Johnny Fisher, a mile off. If he was in there with a good counterpuncher, fight might be over already. There's a rabbit punch there from Dave Allen on the inside. That's something he did a lot in the first fight. Is he getting a warning already? Actually, Johnny Fisher's getting a warning for the elbow. Okay. So Fisher feinting, gets a right hand off there. he's doing the right thing in terms of fighting at a measured pace, because he'll need energy if he does get hurt, if he does get dragged into the trenches, to get through it and still win rounds. So if he can nick some rounds on the back foot, messing about, for lack of a better way of describing it, there's a combination from Johnny Fisher and then he ties up. That's what you want to do. He's got the faster hands than Dave Allen. Get a combo off, tie him up. That's the end of round 2. It's not pretty, but it was relatively effective, at least in that round for Johnny Fisher. Charles B says, still look shaky. He does still look shaky. There's still the sense that drama could happen here, with Johnny Fisher being on the receiving end. You still get that sense. There's still a window at the moment for Dave Allen to get through and do something big. It hasn't yet got to the point where you feel like Dave Allen is completely under control. There's a decent uppercut there, looking at the slow-mo replay from Johnny Fisher, and a straight right hand through the middle. All right, here we go, round 3. Johnny Fisher pushing out that left hand. He got warned for that in the previous round. He's doing it again, though. Certainly can't afford to get points deducted, although be a brave referee deducting points from Johnny Fisher in front of the Bosch Army at the Copper Box. Nice jab from Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher again, circling, mixes in a body shot there. Dave Allen complains it was low. Johnny Fisher coming forward for the first time. Doesn't really throw much, just pushes Dave Allen back to the ropes, forearm underneath his chin. Gets a warning from the referee. And this is actually what you got to do with Dave Allen. You got to frustrate him. I said this in my pre-fight video. The way you beat Dave Allen is you frustrate him, if you're Johnny Fisher, that is, with his particular set of tools and limited experience. That's a nice uppercut from Dave Allen and the left hook that caused all the problems in the first fight. Johnny Fisher back on the jab. You want to frustrate Dave, because you're not going to impress him with your power. Nice jabs there from Johnny Fisher, letting a few shots go as Dave Allen is looking to be more aggressive. Johnny Fisher is forced into action. Jabs there from Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher ties him up. Shout out to Swaggins for the super chat. Big up, big up. One minute 24 left in the third round. Dave Allen stalking, Johnny Fisher moving. Fisher becoming a bit more fluid now in this third round. Maybe he's just warming up to the task a little bit, finding some level of comfort in there. Nice combinations actually on the inside there from Johnny Fisher as Dave Allen tried to get a couple of body shots off. This is what you have to do with Dave Allen. You got to frustrate him. Move around, frustrate, tie up. Good jab there from Johnny. Oh, left hook from Dave Allen. So danger is still there. Johnny Fisher coming back with some combinations. His own left hook. Dave Allen, for me, doing too much complaining. I mean, Johnny Fisher's going to get a warning there from the ref. And I've got no issue with him issuing the warning. But Dave Allen complaining a lot and not throwing enough for me. To me, that's a sign of Dave Allen's frustration. And that's a good sign, therefore, for Johnny Fisher. Uppercut from Fisher. You want Dave Allen frustrated. Double jab from Fisher. A little bit of upper body movement from him there, which he doesn't produce that much of. Needs to be careful which way he's ducking, though. Fisher getting the jab off. Body shots on Dave Allen. Pretty nice work from Johnny Fisher. Nice uppercut on the inside from Johnny Fisher. And then ties Dave Allen up, frustrating him. That's a good round for Johnny, 100%. Ocean Blue says, how's it going so far? Johnny Fisher's winning. He's outboxing him. Shout out to 1-1. Jonas says Fisher needs to punch the pot belly more. He did hit it a few times in that round. Did I shout out Swaggins already? I think I did. Big up Swaggins. Somebody said it looks like Dave Allen's wearing a man-sized nappy. But there's that same shot on the slow-mo from Dave Allen that actually dropped Johnny Fisher in the first fight, but I guess it didn't land as hard this time around. So here we go, round 4. Big jab from Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher comes back with his own right hand. Fisher definitely looking more relaxed now. The punch is flowing, but he needs to stay switched on defensively because Dave Allen is getting through here and there. Sticking the jab out. See, this is all right hand there from Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher was unaffected, but it did get through. But this is the issue with Allen. You know, he says that he's in shape despite being the second heaviest of his career. He might be in good cardiovascular shape, but trust me, when you're heavier, when you're carrying extra timber, you don't get the shots off as quickly. And Dave Allen is, as you see, not getting the shots off quick. That comes with being heavy. You're just more nimble, I guess, when you're lighter. You can get the shots off faster. Jabs from Johnny Fisher, controlling things from the perimeter of the ring. Dave Allen is just looking to time. That's a good left hook to the body from Dave Allen. Needs more of those if he's going to slow down Johnny Fisher's movement. And since he can't get any headshots on at the moment, he needs to target Fisher's body. Uppercut from Allen on the inside was a decent shot. But Dave Allen has done this in so many fights, where he just marches forward, taking shots and barely throwing anything. And that obviously is not a particularly good strategy. Yeah, sometimes it pays off, like when he fought Nick Webb. Oh, right hand there. Johnny Fisher's hurt. He's hurt. His leg went there. I swear down. Unless I'm buzzing, a right hand connected there from Dave Allen, and it looked like Johnny Fisher's leg went. He ties up. Did my eyes deceive me? I swear Johnny Fisher's leg looked like it twitched after he got hit with that right hand. I was expecting Dave Allen to jump on him. I'd like to see a slow-mo of that shot, because to me it looked like Johnny Fisher was hurt. All right, Fisher holds on. So danger has not yet disappeared. Why do I find this fight so funny? I mean, it's still an official round, but for me, he was hurt there. And I don't think Dave Allen actually realized it. JR says this fight is comedy gold. But you know what it is? It's like heavyweights who are really crude and very Oh, here's the right hand. Bang! I'm telling you, that right hand hurt Johnny Fisher. The right hand that just landed there, kind of on the forehead, almost on the temple. That hurt Johnny Fisher, that shot. His left leg wobbled. That's right. East Midlands Fight Fan says Fisher is 4-0 up according to Eddie's scorecard. 4-0 up? Fisher is 10-0 up according to Eddie's scorecard. Eddie's scorecard was compiled before the fight started. Anyway, here we go, round 5. Now, Johnny Fisher is definitely winning this fight for sure. But the Point is, Dave Allen's definitely going to get no favors. Ooh, there's the big right hand over the top again from Dave Allen. So his strategy here is to walk into range with a high guard and try and time the big right hand over the top. And I guess that might work, but he needs to do more, at least to the body. And right as I say that, he launches a right hand to the body. And Allen is neglecting his own jab. He needs to jab with Fisher. Yeah, he's much slower than... Oh, sweeping right hand from Dave Allen. Pushes Fisher back to the ropes. Yeah, Fisher don't want to be here. Dave Allen launches an uppercut. Fisher then gets off the ropes, but the footwork is not great. And then Dave Allen launches an enormous right hand. Johnny Fisher blocks it. All right. Body shot there from Fisher. Dave Allen complaining. Bosh, indeed. Fisher with the jabs. Another low one from Fisher. Like, that was a good body shot there, though, from Fisher. Is Fisher losing his legs? Because he's paced himself in this fight, but he's very stationary here in this 5th round. If he becomes more stationary, that's definitely going to suit Dave Allen. So Fisher going up and down with a jab. Gets backed into a corner here. Dave Allen trying to lean on him. The veteran tactics. Back to the set. Well, not quite the center of the ring, but Johnny... Oh, big right hand from Dave Allen. Johnny Fisher was hurt there. He does a little Irish jig. Not that he's Irish, but he does a little Irish jig. Yo, Johnny Fisher got buzzed with that shot. Dave Allen comes back with a left to the body. Uppercut. Uppercut from Allen. Fisher looking shaky. Jab there from Allen. Right hand from Fisher. Oh, Johnny Fisher's going. Johnny Fisher's in trouble. Down he goes. Down goes. Down goes Johnny. Fisher down. Gets to his feet. 8 seconds left in the 5th. Will the bell save him? Dave Allen looking to close the show. Big body. Left hook. Oh, Fisher. Towel comes in. Fight is over. Fisher couldn't make it to the bell. Yo, that was the best finish of Dave Allen's career. Oh my God. Johnny Fisher got boshed. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear. He unraveled horribly there. We got boxing on the edge. I hope you put some money on your prediction, bro, because you got it bang on there. Yeah, that was comedy gold. Yeah, where's Feed Khabib? Try to tell me it wasn't worth a watch. His car crash television was great. Fantastic. That alone was worth the price of admission. Like, come on. Big up Mr. Luca. There's mine, Tony Bellew said Fisher would beat Chisora. Damn. That's a crazy, crazy prediction from Tony Bellew with his Matchroom bias. So the Essex gimmick comes crashing to an end already. I'd like to see the slow-mo here. Workstation says, Hatman sounds like you're about to die of laughter. Yeah, I'm quite close. There's just something about fights like this. We got a very novice-y boxer in there with loads of support. going up against a hard-punching vet. And it's like disaster is only an inch away. Do you know them kind of fights? This was one of those. And poor Johnny Fisher was obliterated. What was that, the 5th round? Could not survive to the end of the round. There was only 8 seconds left. So here we go. Looking at the slow-mo. There's a right hand from Big Dave. Johnny Fisher against the ropes where he don't want to be. Sticking that left hand out for too long. Right hand buckled his legs. Backing up towards the ropes like that with your chin in the air. Left hand out. You're not covering your head. He tried to trot away, but Allen could see. And there's a good body shot there from Allen. Johnny Fisher tried to grab. Allen came with the uppercut, right hand. I want to see the finish. There was a knockdown. Shout out to Brad Lee for the super chat. He says, you'll laugh alongside the knockout. Made me die out, man. It was comical. So, shout out to Brad Lee. There's the right hand. Johnny Fisher, in all sorts of bother, goes to the canvas. Let's see the finish. Come on, don't keep us in. Let's see the finish here. They're showing the same sequence again and again and again. It was man versus boy, wasn't it? Left hook from Allen. Right hand to the body. Low left hand. Left hook to the head. That's what done it. Same shot as the first fight. Left hook to the head, then a right hand. Johnny Fisher nearly out cold. Falls flat on his face. Towel comes in. Bosh! That's right. Bosh. Yeah, he had Johnny Fisher against the ropes there like a heavy bag. And just like that, the Essex gimmick comes to an end. Yeah, it was a good left hook from Allen. He just had man up against the ropes, like I say, as if he was hitting a heavy bag. And that's all she wrote. AJ says Johnny Fisher's probably a millionaire and isn't even area level. Yeah, he certainly made a lot of money beyond his talent. 100%. He's overachieved. Bosh. That's right. And can you imagine there were people who were asking for Johnny Fisher versus Moses Itauma? Now, those who just wanted to see it for jokes, because they knew that Fisher would get knocked out quick, fair enough. But no, there were a lot of people who thought that was some type of competitive fight. I'm like, when did you start watching boxing? Last week? Johnny Fisher versus Moses Itauma would be a crime. And I'm talking about an actual crime that somebody should go to prison for. Dear, oh dear, Johnny Fisher versus Itauma. Yeah, the Essex crew got carried away talking about that fight. Dear, oh dear. Eddie Hearn taking another L, that's right. Sports Fan 1 says Dave Allen with a Mike Tyson left hook to the body, hook to the head. In it, Johnny Fisher making Dave Allen look like Mike Tyson. All right, fair play to Dave. He came in heavy, which I was concerned about, but he still got the job done. Funny enough, I thought that Johnny Fisher was actually worse in this fight than he was in the first fight. Tactically, he seemed a bit more sensible, but his gas tank ran dry earlier from what I saw. He didn't throw as many shots in the early rounds as he did first time around, but he still got extremely tired. His legs went by the fourth round. No gas left in him. So he was actually worse in this fight. And maybe Allen was better. So fair play to Dave Allen. He got his W. I thought that Johnny Fisher would maybe take this one on points. Just stay out the way, stay out of trouble, and nick a decision. But he didn't have the skills to be able to stay out of the way, evidently. Wasn't capable. He allowed Dave Allen to back him up to the ropes time and time again, back him into corners, and sticking that left hand out there like that, leaving it out there whilst backed up to the ropes is just madness. If you can't back up any further and your back is to the ropes, get your flipping hands up. If you're not going to get out of the way and you're not going to clinch, get your hands up. Because that big right hand is coming over the top. You don't want your left hand to be out there like that. Get your flipping hands. Anyway. Dave Allen being interviewed now in the ring. Connor says the potbelly was a secret weapon. BG London says Gareth Davis punching the air right now. You know he is. You know that Gareth A. Davis has got a smile like a Cheshire cat on his face. Limitless says Fisher needs to retire. In Circle says, I know Fisher's problem. No neck burger. Can't take a shot. There you go. Need that neck burger. Nova says, can't wait for the Big John tantrums. Yeah, they'll probably complain about fouls or something, right? I mean, there were fouls on both sides in this fight. Chooks, you know what? I think you're bang on. Misfits boxing for Fisher, I think. Absolutely dead serious, yes. That is where Johnny Fisher should focus his efforts. Misfits boxing. I'm absolutely 100% serious. He needs to take his career down the same road as Tommy Fury. He should target Jake Paul. Yes, Fisher should be targeting Jake Paul. Like on a level. That's actually a great shout, Chooks. That's exactly what Johnny Fisher should be doing. Misfits. Is to go chat to KSI, get himself on one of their Misfits cards. Start boxing YouTubers and rappers. Nah, it ain't gonna be no trilogy. Come on, man. Man got wiped out. Now, let's see what Eddie Hearn has to say. Hearn's getting booed. Can you imagine? The Essex crew are actually booing one of their own. The board wouldn't let Johnny Fisher do an interview. Are they going to whisk him away to get checked up? Sean Barker says one apiece, cope. Yeah, there is absolutely no need for a trilogy fight whatsoever. Fisher got wiped out. Cal says, Bosh! The lazy rhino smokes Johnny Kipper. Just listen to what Dave Allen's got to say finally here. Let's hear him. Cal says the Gad did a dance. Unfortunately, TalkSport, we're not doing the live radio commentary for this fight. So I don't think they're in the arena. I could be wrong. But maybe they're in the studio doing live commentary from there. I'd like to see Gad's reaction. JDM says, I hope Allen signs with Warren. Me too. Because you could see Eddie Hearn's the cogs in Eddie Hearn's mind turning, and he was like, I need to get hold of Dave Allen again now. I've lost one little gimmick fighter. Dave Allen's the better gimmick fighter. Let me get him back under contract. God vindicated. TC says gonna order a chow mein to celebrate. Where's Feed Khabib at? You can't tell me that weren't worth a watch. Car crash television. Fantastic entertainment. Shout out to AJ for the super chat. He says, fight shows how much the UK loves boxing and gets behind British level fighters. Greatly rewarded for it tonight. Indeed. Drama. Can't go wrong with heavyweights. When they're relatively evenly matched, especially when they're extremely flawed, like these two, but particularly Johnny Fisher, you're almost guaranteed entertainment. That's why David Price used to sell tickets. That's why Eddie Hearn used him to save his shows many times, right? When somebody pulled out, injured or whatever. Let me call up David Price. BG says, Bosch Army scrapping in the pub tonight. Yeah, the Bosch Army are bent out of shape over this one. East Midlands Fight Fan says Fisher was scared. Yeah. He looks scared. But shout out to AJ for the super chat. Big up, big up. B-Tech Graham says, Bosh. Yeah, Johnny Bosch got boshed. Carlton Palmer says, Allen is a pretty good fighter at this level. Yeah, and that's what he said in a post-fight interview. He said, at this level, he can do damage. They just need to find another little gimmicky heavyweight to match him up against. Might be able to go on a run. 1-1 says lower level fights are often more entertaining than higher level fights. That's a whole fact. That is a whole fact. Especially in the lower weight divisions. You know, high level fights, for example, at welterweight, between like two elite guys, it's normally going to be a chess match. You'll very rarely get a knockdown, almost never get a knockout. I mean, sometimes you do, but more often than not, you don't. Whereas when you move up to heavyweight and it's two unskilled guys, yeah, you're usually going to get value for money. Somebody's going to get cleaned out. Paladin says, you don't get Shakur Ballfests at English level. Exactly. Rep says, your live reaction to Fisher getting KO'd was hilarious. Eddie not having a great night. Matchroom's problems continue. Carlton Palmer says, very few mistakes with the higher level fighters. That's true. Just seeing a replay of the finish again. Bang! That left hook from Dave Allen. Johnny Bosch down in his face. Shout out to Surviving Sobriety. He said he should rematch Dylan White. Good fight now. Yeah, maybe. I would still make Dylan White the favorite. I'd still make him the favorite, but it's something that Dave Allen might be able to aim for, because Dylan White's not going to be interested in that fight, I wouldn't have thought. Then again, who knows? Because this was a pretty high-profile win for him among UK fight fans. So maybe Dylan White will think that fighting Dave Allen again might be a good little tune-up before taking on somebody of a higher level. Doc says, Daniel Perro versus Cesar Navarro was also a good heavyweight scrap. Yeah, I saw that the other day. I watched it live. And Perro looked terrible. To be honest, he looked terrible in that fight. That big juiced up Mexican came within, what, an inch of knocking him out? Okay, somebody says, think Yoka is retired. Couldn't quite transition from Olympics to pro. Did he lose his fight? Or is the fight still happening right now? Somebody says, Tony Bellew looks gutted. That's a fact. Surviving Sobriety, big up for the super chat. He says, I agree, White is favorite, but only by 10%. The only thing to me that gives Dave Allen a chance against Dylan White is the fact that Dylan White has got absolutely no chin at this stage. Zero chin. In most other departments, if not every other department, Dylan White is better by quite some way. Dylan White has got better upper body movement. He's a better combination puncher than Dave Allen. He's got a better jab. He's just got better all-round skills than Dave Allen. But Dave Allen is the tougher of the two. He's got way better punch resistance than Dylan White. They keep replaying the knockout over and over again. It was like the best combination that Dave Allen's ever thrown in his life. I've never seen Dave Allen put shots together as well as that. But again, it's because he had an opponent in front of him that was literally stood there like a heavy bag. Wasn't moving even a centimeter. Absolutely stopped still. And Dave Allen was able to get a combination of shots off. Down goes Johnny. That's right. Down goes Johnny. Let me see if I could that moment was funny though. Let me see if I can find a stream of the Tony Yoka fight. The Tony Yoka fight's not in the zone, is it? A simultaneous stream? Surely it's on one of them obscure French channels. I'm going to see if I can get a stream for this Tony Yoka fight real quick. Let's have a look here. Streams. Doesn't appear to be a stream here for that fight. It's so obscure. Is it even... oh no, it must be televised because some of you guys are watching it. No, it's not there. Yeah. Guess I'll have to try and catch it once it's over and someone uploads it to YouTube. But how's Tony Yoka looking? Is he winning the fight? Anyone who's watching it? Chili Beef says, never mind remaster of Confessions. Remaster this stream. That ending killed me, Hat Man. Big up Chili Beef. 1-1 says, Fisher's dad and Gareth A. Davis want them to do interviews after this fight. I don't think I ever said that before in my life. All right, they're backstage now. Backstage cam. There's Big Johnny. Little Johnny's taking pictures with Dave Allen. Yeah, Gareth A. Davis is going to be holding down the biggest grin in the world. You know, like that. Where he's going to be pretending to be impartial and objective. And he's going to be straining to stop himself from grinning. That's what Gareth A. Davis is going to be doing. Let's be real. JDM says Harlem Eubank with a scripted talk was cringe. Yeah, Harlem Eubank is an odd individual, you know? He's got a monobrow. Has there ever been a fighter that was good? A fighter with a monobrow that was any good? I can't recall off the top of my head. Like, serious question. Has there ever been a fighter with a monobrow that was any good? Because Harlem Eubank has got a monobrow. You know, we've talked all about flat headbacks and neck burgers. Let's talk about how monobrows may affect a fighter's ability. B-Tech Grab says Liam Gallagher. JDM says one of them MMA Dagestanis. Yeah, but that's MMA. I'm talking about boxing. But fair enough, yeah. Some of them Dagestanis have got monobrows. But in boxing, has there ever been anyone with a monobrow that was any good? Because I can think of several fighters that had monobrows, but they weren't any good. So there was one, I'm not sure if he was from Dagestan, but he was from somewhere in Russia. He was a cruiserweight that was chiseled. And a few years ago, he was in some high-profile fights. I think he fought Duradola. He might have lost to Duradola. I forget now. But he was a big, chiseled Russian fighter with like a monobrow, massive monobrow, looking like a mini version of Zangief. He was actually a good puncher and had pretty fast hands. But he always ended up getting chinned somehow. Anybody remember the guy I'm talking about? Cal says the mono leaves you vulnerable to hooks. Maybe the monobrow like disturbs your peripheral vision somehow. All right, someone says Corey Saunders. Does Corey Saunders have a monobrow? He might have done, actually. Slyly. He might have done. He might have done. And Corey Saunders was a good fighter. All right, there's my monobrow theory out of the window then. Although, well, it wasn't really a theory. It was a question. And you guys have answered it. Much obliged. Big up, Jake. Tune back in for the show. Did you watch the fight? Johnny got boshed. Oh, damn. CO9 says Yoka getting battered again. I want to find a stream for this fight, but I went onto a streaming site I normally use and they ain't got it listed. Let me try another one. Tony Yoka getting battered. I'm missing out. Nothing against Yoka, but you know. Heavyweight boxing is always entertaining. Well, when someone's getting battered, it is. On another site here. But where's the boxing streams? How do they not have a tab for boxing streams? That's bizarre. They got a tab for Aussie rules on the streaming site, but no tab for boxing streams. How does that make sense? How is Aussie rules more popular than boxing? Yeah, this is ridiculous. They got MMA tab, rugby union, rugby league, handball. What kind of madness is this? No boxing tab. Dear oh dear oh dear. Badminton. Do they not show boxing on here anymore? Are they scared of the broadcasters? Is that what it is? That is mad. I've never seen one of these sports streaming sites that doesn't show boxing. This one has completely dropped themselves out of the game. See if I've got any others saved here. Okay, this one's got the, oh no, it won't. It's not playing. Is it the browser I'm using? Is that why it won't play? Is it my VPN? Hang on here, people. I'm trying to see if I can get this stream up for the Tony Yoka fight. God, the pop-ups are crazy. So I've had to open it in a different browser. But this other browser doesn't have ad block built in. So you have to spend about 20 minutes closing pop-ups before you can actually watch anything. And isn't Tony Yoka being trained by Don Charles now? Don Charles in the corner? Oh, these pop-ups are killing me. Can I just watch this damn fight? Dear oh dear. It's like 25 tabs open now. Is there a little X that I'm missing? Because sometimes they won't let you click the play button until you've found some microscopic X that you have to click. And if you don't, it will keep opening new tabs. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Okay, I finally managed to click the play button, but now it's just buffering. I'm not getting a picture. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to catch it later because this is dumb. Ayad says Matchroom still make a profit. Jake says, yeah, I heard Yoka was fighting in Swindon not long ago. I'm from Bath, so not so far. Someone says VIP League for the Yoka fight. I'm on VIP Box. Let me try VIP League. I'm on VIP League now. Yeah, VIP League is pretty much the same as VIP Box. It just won't, for some reason on my computer, it just won't play. It's just buffering endlessly and the stream won't actually start. I'll leave it. Dave Griffith says, should fight Till. Who, Johnny Bosch? Johnny Bosch versus Darren Till? What do you guys reckon? I certainly think he needs to go into Misfits if he's going to carry on boxing. And, yeah, maybe Darren Till's an opponent he could look at. VTech Graham says, Misfits ain't a bad shout for Johnny at all. Completely agree. Shout out to whoever it was that suggested it earlier on in the stream. It's a very good shout. Jelly Mode says, Harlem's voice is nothing like Senior and Junior. Well, yeah, he's the cousin, isn't he, of Junior? He's Senior's brother's son, deceased brother. Shout out to Blue Collar Sports TV. He says, all wings of redemption. Damn. That'd be a step down for Johnny Fisher. Sean Barker says, do you think Fisher would batter Jake Paul? I think it's a competitive fight. And honestly, that is what Johnny Fisher should be targeting. Get into Misfits and target Jake Paul. Because it's a big money fight for him, isn't it? And actually, his dad might be an asset in Misfits. His dad's actually made for Misfits, isn't he? With all the Chinese and the Bosch and all that type of stuff. Yeah, get the dad involved in the press conferences and all that for Misfits. And have Johnny in there targeting a Jake Paul fight. He's going to have to fight his way through through some less high profile guys first. Maybe a Darren Till. And then if he gets past that, stick him in with Jake Paul if Jake Paul's willing to take it. But he's going to have to raise his profile a bit. I mean, his profile is there from, getting wiped out at the moment by Dave Allen. He's going to need to raise his profile as far as wins, getting a few wins on Misfits cards. Knockouts. B-Tech Graham says, Hatman, what do you think happens between Jake Paul and Badou Jack? I heard a rumor it might happen. I actually give Paul more than a puncher's chance because of Badou's age. Scary fight if it happens. I think Badou Jack wins. I saw Badou Jack's last fight, which was fairly recently, and I still think he's got enough to beat Jake Paul. I'm not saying Jake Paul's got no chance, but I would favor Badou Jack pretty strongly in the fight, to be honest. I want to say I would see it as 70-30 in favor of Badou Jack. Shout out to Swaggins for the super chat. He says, I always thought Big John Fury belongs in Misfits. Yeah. He should actually partake in a Misfits bout, but he keeps pricing himself out. All these guys, similar in age to himself, have been calling him out for the longest. And he keeps saying that he needs to be paid 200 grand by KSI. And then after that, he needs to get offers and it has to be this amount of money and it has to make, I mean, come on, man. This is the same guy who claims he'll fight people for free. When people his age are actually calling him out and they're ready to fight him, he's behaving like his son. You know, pricing himself out, moving the goalposts. It's like, give it a rest. Cody says, Hatman, why are you creasing up like this? Couldn't help it, bro. Car crash television is funny. And that's what we had. Car crash TV. Issa says, I don't know, Hatman. I think Jake Paul could bully Badou Jack. I didn't even think Badou Jack won his last fight. I feel bad for Mikhailian. He arguably got robbed in every fight he lost. Well, I would say that I don't see Jake Paul bullying Badou Jack at all. Personally, if the fight happens, we'll see, right? All I can do is give you my opinion, but I don't see that happening whatsoever. Badou Jack is far too experienced. He's big. Yeah, people think about Badou Jack as a super middleweight. Badou Jack was enormous at super middleweight. I mean, massive. He's actually a pretty decent-sized cruiserweight, Badou Jack. And the experience he has, the skill set he has. I mean, lest we forget, Jake Paul lost to Tommy Fury. Bro, Tommy Fury beat Jake Paul. That's Jake Paul's level. Maybe some people are getting carried away with the fact that Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson. Yeah, Mike Tyson's like 60. He's a 60-year-old man. That's not an impressive win. He's supposed to beat a 60-year-old man who's been bunning weed and whose body's falling to bits and who was washed up 20 years ago. There's nothing impressive about that. The last time Jake Paul fought a boxer around his own age, he got beat. Tommy Fury, Tommy Fumbles actually beat him. I don't think Jake Paul has improved that much from when he lost to Tommy Fumbles to then go on and beat someone like a Badou Jack. I personally don't see it. I don't think he's got the skills to beat Badou Jack. But if the fight happens, we'll see, right? It's just my opinion. Shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, Hatman, you noticed Dylan White sounded like first signs of slurred speech in his new interview. Dylan White's been having slurred speech for quite a while now. I mean, at the press conference with Joe Joyce, he was there making fun of Joyce's speech. The irony being, his speech ain't much better. So yeah, Dylan White has been showing symptoms of slurred speech for quite a while. 100%. Big up D-Man. He's taken a lot of damage, Dylan White, over the years, not just in fights, but he's one of these extremely hardcore guys that likes to spar like a maniac in the gym. Always in these gym wars. And that's how you end up getting damage, especially as a heavyweight, you know? Taking flush shots in the gym and all that type of stuff. End up with a brain like rice pudding. Jake says, Hatman, did you ever see the video of Foreman in his 70s hitting the bag? So true when they say that the last thing that leaves is power. Yeah, I did see it. And that's why his passing was so surprising, because he was so sprightly for his age. He looked so strong for his age. Because that video was not that long ago. It was in the past year, right? So he went from that to all of a sudden he's gone. He was surprising. Carl says, Hatman, would Dave Allen beat Dylan White, Joe Joyce, or Chisora right now? I don't think he'd beat Joyce or Chisora, no. I wouldn't pick him over either of them. Myself, definitely not. He'd have the best chance against White because White has got no chin at this stage. But skill-wise, Dylan White is still a lot better than Dave Allen. I mean, way better. Way better than Dave Allen in terms of skills. So it'll be a matter of, you know, Dave Allen landing a big haymaker because he'd be getting outboxed and he'd be getting tattooed with shots. The Great One says Okolie. I don't see Dave Allen beating Lawrence Okolie at all. Jimbo Jones says that video was fake. They switched when the camera panned. Oh, okay. I could have sworn you saw George Foreman's face when he was hitting the bag, but it's been a while since I watched that video. B-Tech has got Dave Allen over Dylan White. I mean, it could happen. Dylan White, as I say, has literally got no chin at this stage, but I still have to go with White myself because, again, he's got the skills. Shade says Dave Allen's KO punch is the most telegraphed shot ever. Indeed it is. Which is why it was so funny that Johnny Fisher got caught with it, you know? Because we could all see it coming a mile off. It wasn't exactly subtle, was it? And he kept launching it over and over again. And Johnny Fisher kept inviting the shot, you know? Leaning back, stretching his left hand out. As if he was begging to be chinned. And he got what he asked for, didn't he? It's like a horror movie. You know, in a horror movie where the characters just act so dumb. You know, there's some danger in the woods or in a dark room. And you're like, don't go in there. And they go in anyway. That's what Johnny Fisher was like in this fight with Dave Allen. It's like you could see it coming a mile off with the right hands that Dave Allen was swinging. And Johnny Fisher kept doing the same mistake. I was like, oh dear. What are you doing, Johnny? You're going to get chinned here if you keep doing that. Surviving Sobriety says, Lawrence smokes Dave Allen. I agree. I mean, lest we forget, Dave Allen was made to quit by Fraser Clark not too long ago. Afro Jam says Yoka just won. Okay, people were saying he was struggling in that fight. I'm assuming it was points. Mighty Meatball says one thing you can never say about Dave Allen is that he's chinny. Dave Allen has got one of the best chins in the heavyweight division. Real talk. He's got one of the best chins in the heavyweight division. The man's never been knocked down. He's been stopped, yes, but he's never been knocked down. He's got a tremendous chin. Afro Jam says it was a close fight. UD for him, obviously, in front of a home crowd. Yeah, they tried to rob Martin Bakole when he fought Tony Yoka. You guys remember that? Martin Bakole beat Yoka from pillar to post. And somehow, I swear it was a split or a majority. B-Tech Grime says, drinking petrol in Doncaster, that's why. They breed him tough up north. Danny says, didn't Usyk rock Dave Allen in sparring? Yeah, he did. That's the only time I've seen Dave Allen wobbled. Like ever. Luis Ortiz never hurt him like that. Dylan White never hurt him like that. David Price, who was a great puncher, never hurt him like that. Maybe he was tired or weak that day in the gym. You know, it can happen. Fatigue reduces your punch resistance. So maybe he was tired that day. Got caught in the right spot. One says, I agree. Allen's chin is excellent. Seen him get hit flush so many times by people that can actually punch, and he stayed standing. Yep. Afro Jam says, Allen's protector was coming out of his shorts. I don't get how that was allowed from round one. And it's the same in every Dave Allen fight. He's always, for some reason, allowed to fight with his protector coming out of his shorts. You go back and watch every Dave Allen fight, it's the same. Or at least over the past few years. Mandizzle says, is this the same Fisher that wanted to fight Dylan White? Did he want to fight Dylan White? In fact, even more crazy than that, this is the same Johnny Fisher who said that he was willing to step in and fight Anthony Joshua. You guys remember? When AJ was supposed to fight Dylan White in the rematch, and obviously White had the PED issue, and they were looking for a replacement, Johnny Bosch and his dad were saying they were ready and willing to step in and fight AJ. Yo, that's one way to make Anthony Joshua look like George Foreman. Stick Johnny Fisher in with him. Dear, oh dear. What a car crash that would have been. I hope that was just Johnny Fisher and his dad clout chasing. I hope they weren't serious. Same says, to be fair, who wouldn't want that payday? Touché. Is it Sikte? Says, what is that Bosch thing? It's an Essex thing. It's like an old school Cockney East London Essex thing. Valega says Eddie Hearn's heavyweight hope lost Johnny Boy. Now, for the first time in a very long time, I know Eddie Hearn signed Tera Moana, and he's also got Justice Hooney. I mean, they are okay heavyweight prospects. Maybe they'll go on to be better than they look right now. But in terms of UK heavyweight talent, Eddie Hearn has just signed somebody. I'm surprised because he hasn't seemed interested in signing UK heavyweight talent. Let me get the guy's name up here. Some of you guys might be familiar with him already. Hang on. Didn't I have the tab saved? God damn it all. I thought I had the tab ready and saved to talk about it in a video. Let me see. Let's open up this document and hope the link is in there. So I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I've got to look at my notes. But I did check out a couple of his fights. Yeah, his name is Leo Atang. Leo Atang. Atang is spelled A-T-A-N-G. Leo Atang. He is from Yorkshire, apparently. He was a black fighter from Yorkshire. I guess that's a Ghanaian last name, maybe. Atang. Sounds something like Ghanaian. In fact, I know we've got a Ghanaian in the chat. He can tell me whether it's Ghanaian. Afro Jam, you're Ghanaian, right? Atang sounds Ghanaian, innit? Sounds like a Ghanaian name. Oh, you're Jamaican. Why was I thinking you were Ghanaian? All right, you're Jamaican. Well, to be fair, a lot of Jamaicans trace their ancestry back to Ghana. But that name is definitely Tree. Yeah, it has that Ghanaian sound to it. So anyway, this guy, Leo Atang, has just signed to Matchroom. He hasn't made his pro debut yet, but he is looks like a pretty big heavyweight. At least 6'4", I would say, 6'5". He's making his debut in, let me see, July 5th. Which card is this? Okay, it's actually the Jack Catterall Harlem Eubank card. So Leo Atang is making his pro debut on that one. So keep an eye on him and let me know what you guys think. Because, again, I watched a couple of his amateur fights and he looks pretty decent. Now, Eddie Hearn is going way overboard, of course. Eddie Hearn said that Atang is definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, the new Anthony Joshua. You know Eddie Hearn's hype talk. Now, the reason I'm laughing is because the new Anthony Joshua necessarily means that he thinks this guy's going to be as popular as AJ. That would be very impressive indeed if he became that popular. Because there are better heavyweights than AJ, like Daniel Dubois, who flattened him in front of all those people at Wembley, and he still isn't as popular as AJ. I mean, what's a heavyweight got to do these days to become more popular than Anthony Joshua? They hit lightning in a bottle with AJ. He was the perfect storm in terms of popularity. Rob says Saunders is a heavyweight now. He could fight Fisher in his comeback. B-Tech says, what do you think of Catterall Eubank? Maybe I'm missing something, but I see it as a pretty comfortable win for Jack Catterall. Ike is saying Atang is a Nigerian name. Oh, for real? If that's the case, I stand corrected. I've just heard Ghanaian names that sound very similar to that. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Maybe I'm getting 5 rather than 4. Rex says, who's the greatest Ghanaian boxer, Hatman? Azuma Nelson? Azuma Nelson or Ike Quartey? Workstation says, it'll be a while until we see a guy with similar popularity like AJ. Yeah, it was a perfect storm, wasn't it? The timing was right. Matchroom were on the ascendancy, or in the ascendancy. They kind of springboarded off the success they had with the Carl Froch, George Groves rivalry and the big rematch at Wembley. The momentum was with Matchroom. Do you know what I mean? And they had this extremely marketable heavyweight during that time when they were in the ascendancy. And Eddie Hearn was doing all these interviews with Coogan that were getting enormous numbers of views. And Eddie was interacting with the public in a way that no other boxing promoter that I've ever seen was doing. Eddie Hearn made himself far more accessible than any other promoter I've seen. And so that combined with the momentum, AJ winning the Olympic gold, you know, it was just the perfect storm. King says, I thought it would be boring and skipped it. Nah, these are the fights that are usually not boring, bro. When you've got 2 unskilled heavyweights and at least one of them can be hurt and there's like a big crowd turning out to watch it, it's usually high drama. Philip says, hi, Hatman, who won? Dave Allen won. He knocked Johnny Fisher out in the 5th, I think it was. It was a good knockout as well. Fisher got absolutely flattened, nearly out cold. They had to give him oxygen. Muro's man says women liked AJ and Hearn. More women was the key. Also, as you say, Hearn being more accessible. 100%. AJ and Hearn got the ladies on board. Facts. Because prior to AJ, how many women that you would meet and speak to even knew any heavyweight boxers? Do you know what I mean? If they did, they had no interest in them. But when AJ and Hearn came on the scene, they got the interest of the females. Afro Jam says David Haye. Yeah, but not to the level of Anthony Joshua. The females never took to David Haye the way they took to AJ. I'm not quite sure why, but you would have thought that they would have taken to David Haye more, you know? Because he actually had charisma. Whereas AJ's like a robot. You know what I mean? I think they just did a better job of marketing AJ. You know, with all the brand deals and stuff like that. Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, AJ was more commercial. Yeah, they marketed him better. Whereas David Haye was kind of so rough around the edges that he wasn't getting the kind of brand deals that AJ got because of the quote-unquote controversial comments in the run-up to the Audley Harrison fight and saying this, that, and the other. He wasn't quite squeaky clean enough for big corporations to get behind him. That's very true as well, 10 count. Social media wasn't a big thing when David Haye. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. When David Haye was a heavyweight, social media was nowhere near as big. Very, very good point. Shout out to Anthony YouTube. Yeah, that's right. The comments that Haye made in the run-up to the Audley Harrison fight. And Haye doubled down, by the way. I always rated that. They tried to get Haye to apologize, and he doubled down. Yo, Haye was hilarious. David Haye said that Nikolai Valuev looked like something out of Lord of the Rings. I mean, he weren't lying. One says, my sister don't even like boxing, but she was very upset when the Michelin man tucked him in. And you know what? After the Michelin man tucked AJ in, so many girls went off him. See how fickle women are? Yo, I'm telling you, loads of girls went off AJ when he got stopped by Andy Ruiz. That's how fickle females are. You know, because it's not only females that tend to think this way. A lot of casuals as well, people that don't know that much about boxing. But they just, you know, they can't see beyond the bigger, more chiseled person winning a fight. Do you know what I mean? You look at some guys 6'6", big muscles, and they're like, well, there's no way he could lose to a short, fat guy. Like, fighting doesn't work that way. In fact, there's a friend of mine who is a self-confessed boxing casual. And he was messaging me right before the Andy Ruiz fight, maybe the day before, and also before the fight started. And he was like, nah, man, this guy's got no chance. And I said to him at the time, nah, he is a good fighter and he does have a chance. I'm telling you. This guy's dangerous. And he said, oh, okay, well, maybe he's a good fighter, but, you know, I'll take your word for it, he's a good fighter, but I just think he's too small. And I'm like, nah, he's not too small. Trust me, this guy's dangerous. He's got very fast hands. Good counter puncher on the front foot. This is a fight AJ could lose if he's not careful. This is a dangerous opponent. Because, you know, people were sharing pictures of Andy Ruiz on the scales that went viral. And they were like, oh my God, what a joke of an opponent. Casuals don't get it. You know what I mean? They just don't get it. They think that boxing is some kind of bodybuilding competition. The bigger, more muscular, more chiseled guy, well, he's surely going to win. It was similar back in the days when Vladimir Klitschko fought Corey Sanders. And a friend of my older brother's was watching the fight with us. And I think we'd taped the fight. We weren't watching it live, but we were showing him some boxing, on videotape. And as soon as he saw Klitschko standing in his corner and he saw Corey Sanders, he was like, well, this fight's a mismatch. Look at the size of him. Triceps, biceps, pecs, and abs, and all that sort of stuff. What a joke fight. And then, of course, he sees Corey Sanders chin him, and he was literally shocked to his boots. My brother's friend, that is, he couldn't believe it. He was like, how's that possible? I don't get it. Yeah, casuals don't understand the way that fighting actually works. Shout out to Workstation for the super chat. He says, shame to see the way Ruiz has wasted his career. Yeah, it is a shame. Because he had talent. But as I was saying in the stream yesterday, he's this era's Buster Douglas. Because Buster Douglas had talent too. But he couldn't stay away from the refrigerator. He couldn't back away from the buffet table. Buster Douglas. And that's why his career was disappointing. And so it goes for Andy Ruiz. Ended up being a one-hit wonder when he could have been so much more. Encircled says, or when they tried to get Hay to say sorry for the brawl, and he said, my choice was to render this idiot unconscious. Hay was literally hilarious, bro. And I loved the way that he always doubled down on the stuff that he said. When the virtue signalers at Sky would have him on Sky News and they'd try and pressure him to apologize and he never would. Hay was a G for that. Now, Philip Fitzsimmons says, over here in Woke Island, the Irish Marxist media were talking about David Hay's comment in 2017 when he called Bellews fans retards. I loved David Hay. Yeah, I remember that too. That was also hilarious. Because the Bellews fans were heckling him and then Hay switched on him. Yo, Hay was hilarious, bro. And then there was the time when he switched on Eddie Hearn at a press conference. Apples and pears, apples and pears. Yo. One says on the street, people think that too. A lot of the time, the big guy talks a good game, but the muscles are just a deterrent. And when the big talk don't work, you see the big man's hands don't work. That's a whole fact. Murrow's man says, I definitely prefer Hay to AJ. He was a character, man. 100 million%. Mighty Meatball says, characters like Hay aren't around anymore. But it's like I've said before, we do need to give the new generation of heavyweights some time to come out of their shells as characters, right? David Hay was a character from day one. I can say that. But some of the others weren't really characters from day one. If you go back and look at early Dylan White interviews or early Derek Chisora interviews, they were a little awkward. They hadn't really become completely comfortable on camera to the point where their sense of humor was coming out. And that's what made them so liked by a lot of fans, is the humor that came with Dillian Whyte. Not just the fact that both guys are, very aggressive and hot-tempered, but they both got a sense of humor that people would eventually fall in love with. But it took a while for that to come out. So I'm not writing off the new generation of heavyweights just yet as far as their characters, because some of them are only just kids. I mean, most of the time was a baby in life. Do you know what I mean? Rob Wood says Tommy Morrison far superior to Fisher. Oh, yeah. Tommy Morrison's way better than Johnny Fisher. But Tommy Morrison had a pretty good amateur career, Somebody asking, was Johnny Fisher this generation's Tommy Morrison? No, Morrison was way better than Johnny Fisher. Like, many, many levels above Johnny Fisher. He didn't have much of a chin, Tommy Morrison, but way better than Fisher. Better skills. Big up B-Tech Grime. Every time. B-Tech Grime checking out. Big up. Workstation says, would you say Dave Allen is the British domestic version of George Chuvalo? Yeah. I would say. Quite similar to Chuvalo. Chuvalo also slow, ponderous, but took a tremendous shot. Rob Wood says, what now for Fisher do you think, Hatman? Well, someone earlier on in the live chat suggested Misfits, and I completely agree. If he's not going to retire, then I think Misfits is the way to go. Shout out to that guy for the super chat. He says, where would AJ's career or even heavyweight boxing be if Vlad just retired after that Fury loss? I don't think it'd be much different, to be fair. AJ was already a star before the Klitschko fight. Because the Klitschko fight was so dramatic, and Klitschko obviously was a long-reigning former champion, it boosted AJ's profile even more. But I don't think AJ's career would have been that much different if Klitschko had retired, because he still would have gone on to fight presumably Joseph Parker, Takam, Povetkin, and all the guys he did fight. So I don't think it would have been that much different. Because Fury was going to fail that test regardless, right? Because that test was one that he failed. Was it before or after the Christian Hammer fight? I think it was after the Christian Hammer fight, which was quite a while before the first Klitschko fight. So that test was always going to be failed, and he was always going to get a ban. Tarquin says, when your best boxing attribute is your catchphrase. Bosh! Shout out to Grizz D for the super chat. Much appreciated, sir. Best boxing channel by far. Big up, big up. Grizz D. Frank Jagger says AJ versus Vlad was the best AJ we saw. I don't know. I reckon the best AJ. The best AJ might have been Povetkin. Because that was a pretty good performance overall. He did get rocked in the first round. And he had some issues early on. But he managed to adjust. He went on the back foot. So he completely switched up his tactics in that fight. Early on, he was trying to hold center ring and actually push Povetkin back. And he got a bloody nose and he got rocked trying to do that. So then he switched it up. Started moving around, boxing on the back foot. And he actually broke Povetkin down, caught him with that right hand and finished him off. So I want to say it might have been the Povetkin performance. And ironically, that was right before he fought Andy Ruiz. Black Dynamite says AJ versus White was the best AJ. AJ's mentality in that fight was at its highest. Well, yeah, it depends on what you mean by best version of AJ, right? Are we talking about technically? Are we talking about the caliber of the win by way of the caliber of the opponent? Or are we talking about confidence level? Because, yeah, AJ was very confident in the Dillian Whyte fight. And even after he got hurt, he didn't go into his shell. He came firing back. He was defiant. So in terms of mentality, I agree with you. AJ was probably at his strongest mentally in that Dillian Whyte fight. But it might be because of the familiarity. He'd fought Dillian Whyte before, obviously, in the amateurs. Sometimes familiarity breeds contempt. D-Man says AJ was doing well against Ruiz until the third round. That's a fact too. I've spoken in recent videos about how AJ used to have a great lead left hook. And he was hitting Andy Ruiz with some beautiful lead left hooks. He obviously dropped him with a left hook, which wasn't a lead left hook. It was part of a combination in the third. But in the second round, you go back and watch that second round of the first Ruiz fight, AJ was landing beautiful lead left hooks that were sending the spray flying off Ruiz's head. But because of what happened in that Ruiz fight, AJ's basically mothballed his left hook. He barely throws it anymore now. And almost never throws it as a lead. Now, in terms of textbook boxing, they tell you not to lead with left hooks. And it is a dangerous thing to do. But certain fighters have mastered the art of leading with a left hook, and they do so very effectively. Mayweather had a great lead left hook, which was kind of patterned off Roy Jones's hook. Vladimir Klitschko even had a great lead left hook. He actually won the Kubrat Pulev fight with his left hook because Pulev took Vladimir's jab away. Because Pulev had a very good jab himself, particularly back then. So he took Vladimir's jab away, and Vladimir had to go to plan B, which was the lead left hook. Kylie says you need to be fairly athletic to lead with a left hook. You definitely do need to be athletic. And you need to be very clever. You can't be throwing it recklessly. Shout out to Muraz, man, for the super chat. He says, best boxing channel. Keep it up, big man. Enough respect. Cash says Klitschko missed that left hook non-stop against AJ. Yeah, funny enough, AJ did a pretty good job of ducking underneath it. That's actually true. Maybe that's something that they'd worked on, you know, with Rob McCracken, because he did a pretty good job of ducking underneath Klitschko's left hook. It was the right hand and the jab of Klitschko that he had the most problems with. He did get caught a couple times with Vlad's lead left hook, and he actually took it, surprisingly enough. Karl Mack says Mayweather best example of the check hook. Entice them in, take a step back, and use the check hook. Yeah, Mayweather had a great check hook, but he also had a great lead hook up front. Mayweather had very fast reflexes, and if he's in the middle of the ring with you and he notices that right hand is a little low, bam, he comes in with a lead left hook. Diego Corrales fight is a perfect example. The way he dropped Diego Corrales with a lead left hook. The check hook is obviously a slightly different thing, but Mayweather was great at both. Workstation says, first Talk Sport video up, and the title is Got Found Out with Gad in the thumbnail. Nah, I've got to see that. I've got to watch that. In fact, let me have a look now. I want to see the look on Gad's face. Because I know he's fighting down a smile. He's fighting down a grin. Yo, shout out to G-Man. I just opened up my YouTube feed and his thumbnail says boshed. That's right, boshed. Eddie Hearn sweating, sweaty brow on the stomping ground, not being good enough. Eddie Hearn's first reaction to Johnny Fisher getting stopped. Boshed, that's right. Oh, come on, you can see there. Right, they were doing live commentary apparently in the Talk Sport studio, and in the thumbnail you could see Gad holding down a smirk. It's probably the happiest Gad has been for a while. Carl says Mayweather check hook, did it knock out Ricky Hatton? Yeah, it dropped him. He check hook Ricky Hatton, and Ricky Hatton then nosedived into the corner, into the turnbuckle, as they call it in wrestling. Kylie says Gad is going to milk this one. I hope he does. It's entertaining. And also I hope he does because the way the Fishers were carrying on with Gad. Look, I'm no big Gad fan. But yeah, they were just being silly, the Fisher family, with the way they were behaving towards Gareth A. Davis. It was ridiculous. Jimbo Jones says, go eat your dinner, Johnny Bosch. Danvers says, Hatman, I beg you do your Gad impression again. I might save that for my my post-fight video. See, a lot of people like the Gad impression. Sikte says, Fisher can come back. Well, he can come back, as in he can fight again, but where's he going? Right? I always saw Johnny Fisher as a gimmick, an Essex ticket seller. I never took him seriously as a prospect. Eddie Hearn, after the Alan Babbage fight, was saying, Johnny Fisher's a serious world-level heavyweight prospect. And I was like, give it a rest. He's an Essex ticket seller, a little Bosch gimmick thing in Essex. Cool. After getting wiped out by Dave Allen, yeah, he can come back, but what is he going to do? Where's he going to go? Rail says he goes home or to the pub. Wart says, I'm sure he can find a career as a scaffolder. That guy says, not Doncaster, that's for sure. Yes, Chris V says there, Fisher on Misfits. It's got to be Misfits. So he can come back, yeah, he can come back, but I don't see him having a career in proper boxing that's going to make him any serious money or garner him any success. So go the Tommy Fury route, know your lane, and make the best of it. Joe's Gaming says, get gone and take your dad. To be fair, Johnny Fisher, the son, he's all right as a character. You know, he's not like obnoxious or anything. I got nothing against Johnny Fisher. I mean, if anyone listened to my commentary during the fight when he got chinned, they might think I do have something against Johnny Fisher. I just found it very funny and entertaining. But no, on a serious note, I've never had anything against Johnny Fisher personally. He comes across as cool. I got no issue with him. It's his dad that is the donut. You know, it's the Johnny Senior that rubs people up the wrong way. The son's actually all right. Chris V says, Big Johnny's class, though I genuinely love him. Bosh. Hey, to each their own, right? Me personally, I don't get the whole thing with Big John Fisher. I'm not sure why people find him entertaining. A morbidly obese man eating himself to death in real time. And people find that a source of entertainment. I mean, whatever floats your boat, right? I don't get it. JDM says exactly how many's just another Essex cat funt. It's a weird society that we live in. When a man literally eating himself into the grave is egged on by hundreds of thousands of people and they all find it very engrossing and entertaining. It's so weird, man. I don't understand it. Will says, I thought Big John was odd, but okay. But just became delusional after the first Allen fight. Well, I've actually seen Big John in person. down by where he lives. I was in BoxFit a few years ago when I was still in the UK. And they live there because BoxFit is in Harold Wood. That's where Johnny Fisher actually lives. And the dad was in BoxFit, chewing the ears off the staff who are working there behind the counter. And let me tell you something. With some people, maybe even with John Fury, whenever he's on camera, it's a performance, right, with Fury. But I can tell you that Johnny Fisher Sr. is like that in real life. It's not just a performance he puts on for the camera. In real life, he's like that. Because that's how he was talking to the staff in BoxFit. He was like, my son Johnny's this and my son Johnny's that. I mean, he lives there. He must go into BoxFit all the time. I'm sure they're the ones who make Johnny's shorts. And he was bragging and boasted about how many tickets he sold and this and that. And I was like, wow, this guy's really like that. It's not even an act with him. He's actually like this in real life. And I just looked at the guys behind the counter at BoxFit. One of them's a Scouser. And you could tell that they thought he was an absolute donut. But they were being polite because obviously he comes there all the time. His son's a big customer of theirs. But you could just look at the expression on their faces and they were like, oh, God, this guy again. Yeah. Exactamundo says Fisher Sr. moonlights as the Rate My Takeaway guy. The Rate My Takeaway guy is actually okay, but I know what you mean because they're both obese. But Fisher Sr. is way bigger than the Rate My Takeaway guy. The Rate My Takeaway guy is like Peter Kay or something, like a fat jolly northerner. He's all right, Rate My Takeaway, but Johnny Fisher Sr. is proper awful. He's just a donut. Josh Gaiman says he's on a billboard on the M1, living it large. Bosh, that's right. Yeah, I've heard that. Big John Fisher billboards. How cringe is that? And all of a sudden, because you have to imagine Johnny Fisher Sr. is somehow getting money off of his son's career. So maybe this is the best thing that's ever happened to Johnny Fisher Sr. Maybe you won't be able to afford the supersized or as many supersized Chinese takeaways. Exactamundo says, Rate My Takeaway is putting away 5,000 calories a day. Still a middleweight compared to Fisher Sr. Yeah, it's incredible with these guys, isn't it? I mean, see, the thing about Rate My Takeaway, and there's an American guy, black American guy called Dame Drops. He's also a huge fat guy that does food reviews. At least with them, they're reviewing food. Do you know what I mean? They're not eating just Chinese and eating themselves to death. That's not the reason people watch, or at least not most people. Most people watch for their personalities and to actually see whether the food in certain spots is any good. See how much you get, what the portion size is like, and so on and so forth. But with Johnny Fisher Sr., it's not about, reviewing food so much. It's just about this weird kind of voyeuristic thing where people enjoy watching a man kill himself with food. It's very strange. Exactamundo says he's eating it too quick to review it. Denver says Dame Drops is hilarious and very charismatic. He's got a great intro, hasn't he? Super official. I forget how his entire intro goes, but he's got this iconic intro. Then he does the super official thing. But just on a morbid one, you look at a guy like Dame Drops and you think, how long has he got left to live? Like, on a level. And the same with Johnny Fisher Sr. I'm not wishing anything upon him. Right? He might be a donut, but I'm not wishing, an early grave for him. But just being real, how long do you think he's going to live? With the trajectory that he's on. How many years do you reckon Johnny Fisher Sr.'s got left? Callum says the best thing is he always gets a Diet Coke. Yeah, I don't get that. You see these massive obese people with gargantuan portions and then they get a Diet Coke, like that's going to make a difference. In fact, Diet Coke might be worse for you. Them artificial sweeteners are not good, mate. I'd be better off having real sugar. And I hate the taste of artificial sweeteners, by the way. Artificial sweeteners taste like plastic. Horrible. Ocean Blue says, does he see the next Olympics? I mean, it's not guaranteed, is it? Sean Barker says, Bosch Sr. in box fit chewing someone's ear off. Yeah, and it must have been a regular thing because they live right round there. And they must be in box fit all the time to get Johnny's gloves and shorts and all his equipment and whatever. And probably Johnny Sr., I imagine, goes in there for a chin wag on a regular basis. And he must be like, I'm struggling to find an equivalent, but you know what I'm talking about. Growing up, there's always somebody who nobody likes, but they come around and start chewing your ear off anyway. And most people are too polite to tell him to go away. D-Man says, Hatman, have you ever tried Ethiopian cuisine? I haven't yet, but I do intend to. How much does Johnny Fisher Sr. actually weigh, do you reckon? 30 stone? I reckon he might be 30 stone. Chris Ward Music says 30 plus. 400 pounds, yeah? Yeah, easy. Exactamundo says 380 easy. Yeah, 380 on a good day. Chris V says 500 pounds plus. He's so big that his belly literally hangs down nearly to his knees. How crazy is that? How tall is he? I want to say he's about 6 foot. There or thereabout, maybe 6'1", something like that. Jake says that's a crane job moving his body when he passes. That's a whole fact. What kind of coffin they're going to put him in? It'll have to be like double-breasted. Is that even the right word to use? It'd have to be two. So a skip. It'd have to be two coffins joined into one. Right, the fat jokes are coming in thick and fast. Chris V says Big John's ankles and legs are turning purple. I think he passes soon. Respectfully, tragic all round. I hope not. But, you know, play stupid games and win stupid prizes, innit? What is this guy up to? Now, Ocean Blue went there. How many? We're all going to hell for this, you know that. How many pallbearers? Yo, how many pallbearers are they gonna need? Now we're all going to hell for this. And it kind of reminds me, actually, right, of a clip that I saw on Instagram the other day. I saw this clip on Instagram. I'm not sure if any of you have seen it. Of a couple of black guys. I don't know who they are. A couple of black American guys. And one of them is saying that they went to a midget's funeral the other day. A dwarf, you know, a midget. And he said that rather than a hearse, they had one of those Chryslers. I forget the name, the model of the Chrysler, right? He said they had one of those Chryslers instead of a hearse. And then he said they only had one pallbearer and a tiny coffin that he was carrying up on his shoulder like a radio. Like a ghetto blaster on his shoulder, like back in the 80s. They used to carry radios on their shoulder. He said his midget coffin was on his shoulder like a radio. Like a boombox. And rather than sitting the coffin down for people to come and have a look at the body, they were passing it around. like, hey, you want to see him? Oh, this is crazy. Oh, my days. Yeah, that's it. I'm condemned. I'm definitely going to hell now. I'm taking you lot with me. Oh, my gosh. If you ever get to see that clip, trust me, they were killing it with that clip. One pallbearer. That man's coughing on his shoulder like a radio, bro. Like a boombox. Madness. Elliot says gonna unlike the video so I don't go to hell. Yo. Davy Jones says, don't take me with you, mate. I think it's too late. Anyone who's laughed so far, that's it. You're coming with me. The best laughs are always the stuff you shouldn't laugh at. You know when you're not allowed to laugh? That's when things are more funny. It's like when you're in school and your friend's trying to make you laugh in class, trying to get you caught by the teacher. You know them ones. Those are the ones where you are literally bursting. You can't contain the laugh. You know you're going to get in trouble if you do. But that happened so many times in school, man. Ended up bursting out laughing, and then the teacher sends you out into the hallway, comes out and reprimands you, and then it's even more funny. Then you're looking at your friend as he's getting reprimanded. Oh, hilarious. Harrow says, when you're just holding it together, then they drop you the look. Exactly that. Exactly that. When you're not allowed to laugh, it's just more funny. Because it's the fact that there's someone being mad serious. Yeah, that's what does you in. Shout out to Ben for the super chat. He says, no future for Fisher. Yeah, not in proper boxing, but there never was, you know? He was never going to be a proper boxer. He was never going to go world level or anything like that. So it's, Mucho Man says, making eye contact ends it in bits. 100%. $31.21 says, nothing understood teachers telling you off for laughing like you have control over laughing at something. Yeah. They were the best times in school, you know? Getting bollocked off the teacher for laughing. That's the best thing about it. Jake says, Hatman, can you recall any fighters in the past you've been ecstatic to see lose? I remember your reaction to Vlad losing. That's the happiest I can remember hearing you. And that's what I would have said if you hadn't already mentioned it. Yeah, I would have said Vlad. I was so happy to see Vlad lose because he was a cancer in the heavyweight division. Other than Vlad, Tyson Fury, of course. Oh, seeing Tyson Fury lose to Usyk, tremendous. Because Fury was also, you know, effing up the game with his nonsense. So seeing him lose was great. Striker says, we're all going to hell just by association with this live stream. Big up Devon. He says, big up Hatman. I just got home and seen the Dave Allen knockout. Bosh! It was a funny knockout. It was a funny fight. Ocean Blue says, I just wish Usyk stopped Partridge. Yeah, the fact he didn't has given the Partridge fanboys license to continue talking rubbish to some extent. I mean, the Partridge fanboys are far less vocal now, aren't they, though? Because before Partridge lost, they were all over the place. You know? Every video swamped by Partridge fanboys. But since he lost twice, yeah, they're kind of scarce. They're thin on the ground now. You still see the odd one here or there, but not like it was before. But if he'd been knocked out, you wouldn't see any of them at all. Yeah, it's only because those fights went the distance and they're trying to make out as though, oh, he got robbed in both fights. Yeah, okay, whatever. The Partridge fanboys were saying that Usyk was going to knock him out both times. Shout out to D-Man for the super chat. He says, for me, Wilder and Fury losing was good for boxing and satisfying. They were talking about freezing fighters out and kept fighting each other. That's a whole fact. They were bad for boxing during that period with the whole, yeah, let's freeze AJ out. And Wilder was saying, let me freeze Dylan White out and all this type of stuff. And the worst thing is their fans thought it was great. What kind of boxing fan are you if you think it's a good thing that a unified champion's getting frozen out? A unified champion who actually wants to fight the other champions. If he was a unified champion that was ducking everybody, fair enough. But no, it's a unified champion who actually put offers out to fight Deontay Wilder and to fight Tyson Fury. And you're happy to see him get frozen out? And even the Wilder fans, happy that he was freezing Dillian Whyte out. They thought he was funny. How's that funny? So Wilder's fighting people like Dominic Breazeale, Artur Szpilka, Berman Stavern twice. Not unifying with anyone and avoiding Dillian Whyte, it was his mandatory for God knows how long. And you think it's funny? Dear, oh dear. So yeah, shout out to D-Man. Absolutely spot on. And I always have to mention the fact that I do rate Fury as a fighter. Because, someone tuning in right now, hearing me say these things, might get the wrong impression. They might jump to the conclusion that I don't think Fury's any good. No, Fury's very good. He's very good. But he's a pathological liar. He's just innately dishonest. He can't be straightforward at all with his dealings in boxing. He's always trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes. Lie to the public, mislead the public. It's just so tiring, man. So tiring. But he is a very, very good fighter. Very good fighter. And Will says the fact he's a great fighter makes the whole thing worse. Yeah, it does. Because it's like, you're that good, but you still feel the need to be so devious and deceitful and avoid this fight and that fight and kick this fight down. I'm like, bro, you're a good fighter. What are you doing all this stuff for? And I think it's because he, again, was trying to replicate what Mayweather did. Holding on to the O. That was so precious to him, Tyson Fury. He wanted to try and basically con his way into the history books rather than fight his way into them. Because Fury always knew that if he was to fight everybody out there, he was going to take losses. He always knew that. That's why he didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? It's not rocket science. Fury didn't fight everybody out there because he knew that if he did, he was going to take losses, and he didn't want to take losses. Not that he's afraid of getting hit or hurt or whatever. He's definitely not. But just his ego didn't like the idea of taking losses. He'd built up this image of himself as basically the heavyweight Mayweather, and he wanted to ride that out until the end. Yeah. Curly says it's like Tank Davis. Yeah, similar to Tank Davis. Tank Davis is doing the same nonsense, man. A little Cabbage Patch Kid, Munchkin Davis. Dear, oh dear. Another very talented fighter who has no respect for the fans and no real... I mean, in some ways, Tank Davis is even worse than Fury. Right? In some ways, it's even worse because Davis doesn't even care about being thought of as a great. Fury did, right? Fury's always been someone that values being thought of as one of the greats of all time. That's why he would constantly call himself the greatest heavyweight ever. Tank Davis doesn't even seem to care about that. He doesn't care about being thought about as a great or anything. He just wants to make a load of money and twerk on Instagram and do God knows what else. It's weird. Yeah, SF says Tank doesn't care about boxing. He really doesn't. He really doesn't care about boxing. For him, it's purely a hustle. Doesn't care about what people think or anything. Will says, I was shocked he did the third Chisora fight, though. I thought even he wouldn't go there. And I think that's when the public really turned on him in large numbers. Is when he fought Derek Chisora for a third time. Once he did that, the public started putting unprecedented levels of pressure on him to fight Usyk. And he kicked that can down the road for as long as he could. It's incredible that some people deny the fact that Fury did that, because then there's that video, which is still around online, an interview with Tyson Fury from 2020 saying that he'll never fight Usyk. Even if he beats AJ, he says, I've got no interest in fighting him even if he beats AJ. So he literally confessed, right, in 2020 that he was going to avoid the guy. And then there are people who claim that, oh no, he didn't avoid Usyk for 2 years. Yes, he flipping well did. He literally told you he was going to do it before he did it. He said, even if he beats AJ, I've got no interest in fighting him. Shout out to Angelica. This happened. I've been a massive fan of yours. Workstation says Tank Davis, the Cabbage Patch Kid. Yeah, he literally looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid. To be fair to Tank Davis, when there's been those memes going around of him as a Cabbage Patch Kid, he finds it funny. So he's got a sense, he can laugh at himself, and he's got a sense of humor in that, to that extent. but yeah, he looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid. Tank Davis. Devin says Dylan White versus Dave Allen 2. Who wins that, man? Yeah, a couple of other people. I think B-Tech Graham and a few others were talking about that fight earlier on. And I think they're picking Dave Allen. I would still make Dylan White the favorite. Dave Allen's got a chance, yes, because Dylan's got no chin now. Like, zero chin. All Dave Allen would need to do is catch Dylan White clean one time. But I would still favor Dylan White because he's got much better skills than Dave Allen. Even now, as deteriorated as he is, as diminished as he is, he's got much better skills. Better defensive skill. Not like Dylan White is a defensive whiz, but he's got better defensive skills than Dave Allen. He's a better combination puncher. He's got a better jab. So I still think Dylan White would beat him. I mean, Dave Allen, off the back of that Johnny Fisher win, might be better now. And I'm surprised to hear myself saying this, right? He might be better now than when he fought Dylan White, with the experience and whatnot and the momentum of this win. So it definitely closes the gap between them. But I'd still make Dylan White the favorite personally, because he does have the skills, the experience, and Dave Allen's shots are all very predictable. Johnny Fisher's a complete novice, so he couldn't get out of the way. He couldn't read what was coming at him. But Dylan White will be able to read them shots, I'm pretty sure, and block most of them and what have you. Shout out to AJ for the super chat. He says, remember when Fury made that crazy split demand and Usyk accepted it? Fury didn't know what to do. Indeed. Tried to move the goalposts again when Usyk accepted it. An absolute shocker. Shout out to Hyro Protagonist for the super chat. He says, thanks for the stream tonight. And thanks for the super chat, my bro. Much appreciated. Big up. Ellaby says, do you know the officials for Usyk Dubois 2? I'm scared for Usyk. I don't know who the officials are, no. But if there's one guy in the Lion's Den who you don't need to be scared for, it's Alexander Usyk. He seems to have a golden glow of, I don't know, godly protection around him. Because the amount of backyards he's been into and beaten the home favorite is crazy. Sam says, Hatman just finished work. Who won? Dave Allen won. Knocked out Johnny Fisher in the 5th. It was a great knockout as well. Poor Johnny. Face down on the canvas. Nearly out cold. Exactamundo says Usyk has a different energy this time round, though. Seems off. We're going to find out on the night, right? But personally, I don't think Usyk's energy is off. I think it's where it needs to be. Because at this stage of Usyk's career, other than Father Time, the thing that will hasten his reign at the top is likely going to be complacency. And, you know, he's not somebody that's known for being complacent, quite the opposite. But he's a human being at the end of the day. He's made insane amounts of money, particularly from the Fury fights, but also the AJ fights made him a lot. I'm sure he's made far more money than he ever dreamed he was going to make. He's been boxing from a pretty young age. And when you've climbed to the top of the mountain as many times as he has and achieved all he has, motivation becomes the challenge. Where do you get the motivation from? How do you get up for these fights when you've beaten everybody? And I think that Daniel Dubois, and more so Don Charles and George Fox, have given Alexander Usyk exactly the motivation he needs. I think they've given him everything he needs to be motivated for the fight. I think they've played right into Usyk's hands, personally. That doesn't mean that Daniel Dubois can't win. I'm not saying that at all, but I think the stuff that Don Charles and George Fox have been saying and doing is actually helping to motivate Usyk. Angelica, shout out for the super chat. Will you ever do a live with Adeola Depot? We shall see. I mean, he's a busy man. I'm a busy man. It'd be difficult to match our schedules up, but I'll definitely never say never. Big up Adeola Depot. You know, he's done fantastically well. His journey's been inspiring, you know, inspirational. So big up to Ade, man. I remember when he was a YouTuber with his friend Ryan on their Box Talk channel. And he literally went all the way from that to being one of the biggest and most recognized, well-known presenters in the sport of boxing. Do you know what I mean? So I can't do anything but respect what he's achieved and respect that journey, you know? Done fantastically well. When you've literally followed someone's journey from the start and you see the rise, yeah. Pure respect. Devon says Don Charles is actually putting a lot of pressure on Daniel. It would be better for Don Charles to be quiet and take the pressure off Dubois. Here's the thing, right? As, you know, like most people, I suspect Dubois is on the spectrum. And so if he is on the spectrum, he's going to process things differently to a neurotypical person. And I don't think that Dubois really feels pressure in the way that most other fighters do. Because it's part of his routine. He's been doing this for so long, since he was a little kid. So I don't think all the talk from Don Charles and all that other stuff is really bothering him personally. I don't think he really feels any extra pressure from it. I could be wrong, but it's just my suspicion and interpretation. I think what would make Daniel Dubois upset is for him to get out of his routine. Yeah. To knock him out of his routine somehow would upset him. But as long as he's in his routine, I don't think anything anybody says, what the public is saying, what Don Charles is, I don't think any of that's going to bother him. I mean, he is, I agree with you, being put up to a lot of this stuff that he's doing, you know, shoving Usyk and all this kind of thing. Even when he got in the ring after Usyk beat Partridge in the rematch, like many others, I suspect he was put up to that. You know, told to go up there and do whatever. So yeah, it's not him in that sense, but if you remember, before the Hrgović fight, he put out a video where he's in the gym with Don Charles and he comes up to the camera and he starts talking all this trash about Hrgović. Hrgović, I'm going to do this and do that. And it was like, what? Daniel Dubois never talked like this before. So it was out of character, but yet he still went ahead and performed against Hrgović, right? Out of character, but Dubois was smiling when he made them videos. You know, he was in a good place mentally. He was happy. Exactamundo says, do you reckon Dubois would have beaten Parker? Personally, I think he would have done. That's just my opinion. I reckon he would have done. I was picking Dubois to win. My name is Nobody says, should Usyk retire after the fight? I think he should have retired after the Partridge rematch. I said it at the time. So yes is the answer. I think he should. I don't think he should have signed to fight Dubois in the first place. I think he should have retired. But since he has, well, he's in it now. Certainly, if he wins, I think he should retire. If he loses, depending on how the fight goes, he might want to run it back. You know, have a trilogy with Dubois, which I wouldn't like to see. There are too many endless rematches in the heavyweight division. But yeah, if he wins, definitely, in my view, he should call it a day. And speaking of calling it a day, going to call it a day on this stream. It's been fun, great conversation, lots of fun with you guys, especially during the Johnny Fisher fight. Special shout out and acknowledgement to everyone who donated via Super Chat. Until next time, take care, be good, and I'll catch you on the other side. I'm out.